Roxbury has a long history of creative talent and performance, from the heyday of jazz clubs to the more recent recording stars and emerging artists. Those are some of the ingredients for the Roxbury Cultural District, an effort to leverage the arts for community benefit and economic growth around Nubian Square. For the next 3 weekends, that will be taken to another level with a multimedia experience called Nubian Nights, the sights and sounds of jazz in Roxbury. To tell us about the installation are the district's president, Daniel Callahan, and its lead organizer and fundraiser, Anita Morson-Matra. Thank you both very much for being with us.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Daniel, I want to start with the name for this because, when people hear jazz these days in the 21st century, they're thinking, oh, back then, but this doesn't seem to be really a nostalgia trip, does it?
No, I mean, what we've always tried to do is try to marry the past with the present and with the future. So this is no different. We have artists, jazz musicians who have been doing it for a while. I call them OGs, but we also have up and coming artists who are really starting to bend what jazz can be. And so marrying all those different people together is really what this is about. We're trying to bring generations of Roxbury culture together. So this was a perfect opportunity for us to do that.
During the pandemic, we're reading about these endangered venues for not just jazz, but even other kinds of Black music. So it sounds like this is almost like an affirmation of sorts.
Yeah, I mean, a big part of this was we want to get foot traffic back to Nubian Square. There's businesses there that are still, still doing business, and they need patrons. And it's also, the area of Roxbury that is very much in development. And we want to make sure that the people are present for all that. And we want to make sure that they're feeling invited to the space. With the new name change, there's a lot of new possibilities about what the square can be. And so we want to start to establish those possibilities.
And I want to say hello to Anita Morson-Matra. Anita, picture this event for us. They call it an installation, lasers. What's going to be going on here exactly?
Yeah, it's going to be a really amazing experience. There's going to be beautiful images that are projected from 3 different locations. There'll be sights and sounds. There'll be music from local folks. It'll be a real exciting time.
I'm trying to put this in my own mind here too, because when you get talking about the old Ferdinand building, it's now the bowling building. You're looking south from Washington Street. It's almost like a little bit like seeing the Coliseum. This is pretty grand, isn't it?
Very much so. It welcomes you into the space. It definitely welcomes you into the space.
Well, this is also part of what the Boston Foundation has been grooming as an exercise in placemaking. It sounds like jargon, but why is that important to the neighborhood and what you're trying to do?
Yeah, it's really interesting, the interconnectedness of arts, culture, and economic development, and what it means to be a steward for a place. It's key and integral that we think about not only who is there in terms of the residents, but also the small businesses, the artists and creatives that make that energy every day. We're very fortunate in the square to be one of the city's transportation hubs. So, once we get up and going again from COVID, we expect, the usual, which is 50,000 plus people per day, right? And we'd really love to have a real exchange with those folks and let them see what we already know to be the case, which is that we have so many assets, so many beautiful, rich experiences in Nubian Square.
Daniel, culture is central to some of the businesses that are already operating around the square, plus you have something else that's in the pipeline. Can you tell us a little bit about those connections?
Yeah, I mean, we try to be very strategic about the partners that we worked with and the locations that we decided upon. So we are partnering with Jazz Urbane Cafe, which will be moving into the bottom of the bowling building. We also are partnering with Black Market and Nubian Gallery. And again, sort of that merge of past, present, and future, we have really like stalwarts and foundational partners in Black Market and the Nubian Gallery who have been around for a while. Nubian Gallery especially, but it's also in a sort of midst of transition into a new space with new potential. Black Market has really been the epicenter of Black activity in Boston. And with Jazz Urbane, their move-in sort of time was pushed back because of COVID. And so we really wanted to be able to highlight them and elevate what will be coming into that space. And so there's no really better way to do it than to just show people. And so that's what we're trying to do with this event.
Jazz Urbane, I associate that with Bill Banfield. Maybe people have seen him perform. I know Jazz at the Fort going back a few years.
Yes, yes. Bill Banfield is definitely one of the main architects for the Jazz Urbane Cafe, and the Jazz Urbane Cafe will be featuring the incredible roster of musicians of the Jazz Urbane recording label. And so we have several of those artists who are going to be sharing their performance and their talent with us through this show. So that will be some of the music that you hear and see at this installation.
Anita, one of the things I'm reading in between the lines about an event like this over the next 3 weekends, it's happening at nighttime. We've been talking about new economic activity around the square that could be happening at night. It's almost as like you're trying to push the clock ahead on when you can do business in the square and make it feel good.
Yeah, definitely. We really want folks to know that a lot of our businesses are open. They're pushing forward. They're finding new and innovative ways to do what they need to do to bring food folks out and to really service them. And so we really want folks to know that, although we have to take a different approach, that the folks are still there and we really want to support them.
Now, of course, we're not all the way at the point where people can, pack into some club and hear live music with wind instruments, but you want to have this so that people can be close to it, really feel it, but also have enough distance, wear the masks. I guess you put that into the planning as well.
Definitely. Social distancing is a requirement. Everyone is required to be masked. We hope that, this is just the first iteration. And what we hope is that we will build and we will create something that will happen periodically, and it will take a lot of different forms. And so right now, we definitely are committed to outdoor efforts and keeping people safe, but we hope at one point or another we'll be indoors as well with Nubian Nights.
Jen, I want to ask you about another part of the strategy around the district here, because there's a lot of new construction going on around the square. So there will be some increase in economic activity of some kind. But I guess one of the things you're concerned about is making sure that this is the kind of economic activity that doesn't displace people who are there now, and that people who live around the neighborhood can really benefit from. So how does it fit that kind of a goal?
Yeah, again, I mean, like getting sort of into the history of things, and the reason why jazz is so important is because jazz has been an economic model for Roxbury for a very long time, right? When we think back to the days of of legalized segregation, when Black people really weren't allowed into Symphony Hall and other places where music was being presented, jazz offered a platform for people to especially Black people, to get together and entertain each other. So we think about places like Wally's, we think about places like Bob the Chef's, and all these other places that have been epicenters of jazz. And so jazz as itself is really sort of this metaphor, but also this actual form of economic development and management in the Black community. Also, just in terms of just having this singular event as sort of a platform. Again, we targeted Black owned businesses as places that we want to activate. And this is open to all. So the idea is that Black culture, Black artistic traditions are celebrated by everyone. Everyone can enjoy them. But it's particularly important that we divert some of those economic gains back into the community from which it came.
I want to ask you about the younger generation here, because there's this classic jazz that existed 50 years ago, maybe, but we're also talking about jazz as something that gets into the blender with other types of music and ends up as samples and hip hop. So, I mean, if you're a young up and coming artist, don't you want to hear some of this?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, anybody from Kendrick Lamar to Thundercat to anybody who's making music today has been influenced by jazz. Jazz is the one of the quintessential American traditions that have ever been created, and it's had effects on every other musical tradition that would precede it. And so we're we're definitely understanding that this is just one of the many events that we hope to have. We hope to feature all different types of music. But we wanted to start with jazz again because of the importance of that medium and that music to the space of Roxbury. And also, again, some of these artists are much younger. And when we think about Berkeley, what's happening at Berkeley, and Bill teaches at Berkeley, Bill Banfield, there's a lot of fusion going on there, and a lot of and jazz is sort of popping up in all these different mediums and all these different genres, because music is music, right?
Finally, Anita, if people want to get some more details on when this is happening, and maybe we can give them a little sense of the hours in the nights, please do that, but also where they can get more details.
Definitely. So Nubian Nights will be happening for the next 3 weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. We have 3 locations. They'll be at the Bowling Building, the Jazz Urbane Cafe, Nubian Gallery, and Black Market. If you want more information, you can follow us on Instagram at Roxbury Cultural District. You can follow us on Facebook at Roxbury Cultural District, or you can go to our site, www.roxburyculturaldistrict.com.
Well, thank you both very much for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anita Morson-Matra and Daniel Callahan from the Roxbury Cultural District.